As he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" And Jesus answered, "It was not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be manifest in him." As he said this, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle and anointed the man's eyes with the clay, saying to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back seeing. My brothers and sisters, there's a famous folk hymn called Amazing Grace, and it was written by John Newton, the famous Anglican clergyman. And there's a line that says, "I was blind, but now I see." So I was blind and now I see. In the scriptures from this weekend, we hear about two types of blindness. There's a physical blindness, which the Lord restores to this man, but there's also a spiritual blindness of the Pharisees and of those who refuse to be open to what the Spirit is doing. So what Jesus himself is doing before them, even though these are supposed to be the experts of the law and the scriptures. So this man is now physically able to see, but then little by little, the Lord continues to ask him questions. And that's when he is able to fully see, not only physically, again, but spiritually, which is so important. So Jesus says, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" And he says, "Tell me, sir, and I will believe in him." And Jesus says, "I am he." So at that moment, the man begins to worship Christ. So we see this gradual kind of progression. I remember years ago, I read a story about Padre Pio, and he had cured a man who was blind. So he was not born blind, but he lost his sight from an accident. So Padre Pio went to him and he says, "Look, do you want to be able to see?" He goes, "I'll pray and ask the Lord for this miracle." And it happened several times. We have medical proof of this. And he said, "No." He said, "You know, when I could see with my eyes, I was sinning all the time." He goes, "But once I lost my physical sight, then I came to really see life." And he had spiritual sight. And he goes, "I don't want that physical healing." Imagine that. So many of us in the world today, our culture is so blind to the truth of the goodness of God and God's ways. So we think we know everything, like Adam and Eve wanting to grasp and to understand or to create their own truth, to decide for themselves what was right and wrong. And we know the consequences are devastating. But the Lord shows us the way out. So we ask the Lord in this Mass, this weekend, every day, during the season of Lent, to be able to truly see, right, the presence of God, to know His will, and to be faithful in doing it. See you at Mass this weekend. Again, invite family, friends, neighbors, anyone. You'd be surprised, some of them may say yes and join you. God bless.